As of writing, the title for Star Wars Episode 8 hasn't been decided yet. Hello, I'm the Movie Geek, and this is the second half of my most anticipated movies of 2017. July to December. If anyone watched part 1 of this list of most anticipated movies, it became clear that the list changed from anticipated to movies being released in the first half of 2017. This second part lists the next 6 months' films releases that I want to see. There will be great films, there will be bad films, there will be mediocre films. Just enjoy the list. And this time, I'll try and be a little less boring. What was that? Did you hear that? That was weird. Oh well. On with the show. We start July with the highly anticipated Spider-Man Homecoming. It is highly anticipated because the last time we saw a solo Spider-Man film, we got build-up, with a touch of build-up, for the sequels that never came. I'm talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Attack of the Dubstep Menace. Sony have created control of the solo Spider-Man films, but Marvel are holding the reins with both hands, as Spider-Man now has his foundations firmly and securely based in the MCU. This premise seems to show Iron Man teaching and guiding Spider-Man into his new life as crime fighter, which reeks of Marvel teaching Sony how to make a good superhero film. This will be a hit. It will most likely be Marvel's most successful film of 2017. But with the addition of Doctor Strange in Thor, Ragnarok, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 earlier in the year, it is up against strong competition. But as Spider-Man Homecoming is the literal homecoming of Marvel's most popular character, this will easily break $1 billion in the worldwide box office. Quote me if you want. The next film sees the release of the third installment of the rebooted Planet of the Apes movies, War for the Planet of the Apes. I loved Rise of the Planet of the Apes and enjoyed its sequel, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. My god, these titles. But I'm not expecting much from this film. I think the motion capture is brilliant. Andy Serkis will be amazing as usual. But what can they do now? Judging from the trailer and the title, we're going to see another longer instance of the war between humans and apes. Now, we know the outcome. We know that the astronauts from Planet of the Apes went to space during the first film. So we're going to see the final war and how the humans became subservient to the apes. Thing is, I don't think this will be much more than a mediocre sequel. I'm not saying prequels can't tell a compelling story. Look at what Rogue One did last December. Also, check out my Rogue One A Star Wars Story review on my channel, The Ultimate Movie Geek. War for the Planet of the Apes will probably have great visuals, great set pieces, and be an entertaining story. But I don't think it won't make much of an impact. I'll also say the next one, if this makes the money and there is a sequel, will be a remake of the original. Shall we start speculation on who will star? No, let's not. Now we get the return of Christopher Nolan with his movie Dunkirk. His first historical film based on World War II evacuation of Dunkirk Beach, codenamed Operation Dynamo. There's not much that being said about this. It's written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Kenneth Branagh, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy and Mark Rylance. A cast like that is enough to get an audience, but adding a story written by Nolan based on a true and harrowing story, it's something that should be one of the highest grossing films for Warner Brothers. We've got Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. This film looks interesting, and coming from director Luc Besson, it will most likely be a visually stunning film. Based on the French sci-fi comics named Valerian and Laureline, who are space and time agents, kind of like Captain Jack. The trailer looks spectacular and marks a return to the space opera sci-fi genre for Luc Besson, 20 years after The Fifth Element. And I think it's got links to Fifth Element as well. I'm looking forward to this, and I hope it does well. And then we get The Dark Tower, the first of 2 Stephen King adapted films this year. The Dark Tower stars Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. Despite me giving this the label of adaptation, upon researching, Stephen King has said that this isn't a typical adaptation. King and, now I'm going to ruin this, Nikolaj Assel, director, have stated that this adaptation is a sequel to the book series. Now, I haven't read the book series. I have no idea what they're about, but what interests me about this film is the fact that they're slotting in the films as a sequel. In my Assassin's Creed review, which you can find on my YouTube channel, The Ultimate Movie Geek, I said that one of the best things about that film was the fact that it isn't an adaptation of one of the games. It's a story set within the wider Assassin's Creed universe. For The Dark Tower, the same thing can be said. If I want to go and read
this
the
will
books,
be a hit.
I can, and then I can watch the film, and I'll be able to follow the story, knowing certain bits of the film, understanding where the characters are going and what their motivation is. Why remake the books when the books are there on their own? When you can give an old story a new twist by extending the story, deviating from the original source material, it keeps fans of the books guessing. At the same time, it gives the fans what they want. It'll also bring filmgoers like me into this franchise, and if the film is good, I might want to go back and read the books myself. I am truly looking forward to this film and hope it doesn't suffer the same fate as many other Stephen King adaptations. Clowns. Now, August doesn't seem to have many movies out that I'm anticipating personally, but there is the Emoji Movie, with the recently casted Patrick Stewart playing the poop emoji. Doesn't that sound fantastic? Other than that, I think we'll move on. September. There are 3 films this month that I don't mind watching. Firstly, we have It, the second of the year's Stephen King adaptation, and a remake of the 90s television film. Now, when it was released in 1990, I was 5. I went into the video shop and I remember seeing Tim Curry's face as Pennywise the clown peering out of the horror section. Firstly, it was a clown smiling menacingly from the cassette tape. And secondly, its hands were bloody monster hands ripping through the white background of the VHS. This was my first contact with it, and it frightened the crap out of me. It was scary, so scary in fact that I didn't venture over to the horror section for many years. What was that? Second film this month is a remake reboot of Flatliners, also a film from 1990. I feel they could expand on the initial premise from the first film. Keith Sutherland, who was in the original, came out and said that he was in this remake reboot sequel, and he's playing the same character, which suggests it is a sequel to the original film. Now, I've noticed that this is becoming a regular thing now. Take a 20-year-old property, don't remake it anymore because people don't like remakes, just have a sequel set with the same actors, off you go. We've had Independence Day Resurgence, which was Star Wars The Force Awakens, which was pretty much a remake, and T2 Trainspotting 2 kind of follows on from the story, and, well, I haven't seen it yet, but we'll see. I don't mind a remake or two, but the fact that the makers are now deciding to keep the original films as first in a series of belated sequels, I kind of like it, and I think it's quite interesting. Here's hoping Flatliners adds something to the franchise rather than, and I'm going to say it, it flatlines. Dad, I've told you. Dad jokes. October! Woo! Halloween, though. I could do a theme. I could put something up. Blade Runner 2049. Just let that sink in. Blade Runner 2049, I am looking forward to be back in this world, but only because of my love for the first one. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who's recently had some success, I think, in my opinion, with Arrival, which I recently watched and found to be absolutely fantastic. It stars Ryan Gosling, Lenny James, Dave Bautista. Could be an interesting addition to the previous story. Hopefully it builds upon the already rich aesthetic set out in the original. I'm in two minds for this film. It could be good, but it depends, and in my opinion, it depends upon how they deal with the Ford in the room. I know, I couldn't think of a funny metaphor. Anyway, he reprises his role of Rick Deckard, but this is where my worry comes from. The original sets up a well-known theory that Deckard is possibly a replicant. I say possibly because it is never confirmed or denied. It is merely suggested. It's hinted at within the film. It is good. I still don't know where I stand on it, and this is where my problem comes with this film. I worry because I don't want this aspect of the original film being verified. I think that if Deckard is in the film a lot and not just a side character, they need to maybe continue the idea, the hint that he's a replicant, but don't verify it, because it will diminish the ending of the first one. I know you could then just disregard the sequel, because you've got the first one, which is perfect, but it will diminish the original in a way that shouldn't be touched. It should maybe be hinted at, but not outright said. I'm hoping as well that, along with keeping Deckard ambiguous, this could be as visually stunning as the original was. We then have Kingsman: The Golden Circle, the sequel to the surprise 2015 hit Kingsman: The Secret Service. The Golden Circle follows Eggsy, played by Taron Egerton, as he goes to America to join forces with their US equivalent, the Statesman. They do this to take on Julianne Moore's villainous Poppy. There isn't much more to say about this, except it has been advertised that Colin Firth's character, Harry Hart, will be returning, despite being shot in the face near the end of the first film. And that was a truly spectacular set piece. November. First, we have Thor's third film, Thor Ragnarok. And if rumours are anything to go by, it's going to be a cross between a Thor movie and a Planet Hulk movie. It's an interesting idea, as we have two of the most powerful Marvel superheroes teaming up for a film that is presumably set mostly off Earth. Could we see a potential crossover between Thor, Hulk and the Guardian? Maybe, maybe not. But what we do know is Doctor Strange will be making a cameo, or maybe more than a cameo. How long and in what capacity he will be involved in the film is yet to be seen. Now we get the one that is anticipated by most people. Well, they're anticipating that it will be a flop. Justice League. This could go either way, to be honest. With the forced death of Superman at the end of Batman v Superman, we're following Bruce Wayne as he recruits everyone from that handy LexCorp email thread. The trailer released last year seemed to excite everyone, and in my opinion assuage the feelings people had after Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. But a trailer can be deceiving, and we won't know until we go. I'm expecting Justice League to do the same as Batman v Superman. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but I think that it's going to have an amazing opening weekend, and depending on how it plays and how Wonder Woman is received earlier in the year, it'll be the drop off that is the downfall of Justice League. I'm looking forward to it because I want to see what they are going to do, where they're going to go. I understand a lot of the complaints towards the earlier films, and to an extent I do agree with them, but hopefully lessons have been learned, because the more films they announce and film, if they keep on the same path, they will grind the goodwill of the fans down until no one sees their film. I know Warner and DC don't want to copy Marvel, and thus have gone in a completely different direction, trying to get their superhero team-up movie out in less time than it took Marvel. But due to this rushing, they have skipped past good character development, completely glossed over Superman's development made in Man of Steel, and rushed a storyline that could have benefited from a little bit more build-up. The death of Superman came 55 years after Superman's first appearance, and not commenting on the different ages of the comic books. That is a long history for the reader to be invested in, not to mention the characters within the comic. The reader had the time to get to know the character. When he died, they could effectively mourn Superman's passing. With the DCEU, Batman v Superman was Superman's sequel, and he dies at the end of it. It's rushed and not really built up. Not to mention the idiotic idea of releasing the reveal of Doomsday in a trailer, so everyone knew he was going to die. There was no build-up to the death of Superman. Ideally, we should have had a Man of Steel sequel that built upon the character of Superman, showing why his death would be felt around the world, showing what impact that death has upon all the people of the world. Even if Batman v Superman stayed exactly the same, but there was a Man of Steel sequel before it that showed Superman's character, instead of the 2-minute montage that we had within Batman v Superman, which, don't get me wrong, was a brilliant montage, but it should have been a film in itself. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. Justice League, please be good. An early Christmas present, as with every year now, we will receive a new Star Wars film. We recently had Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which coincidentally, you can watch my review at my YouTube channel, The Ultimate Movie, which was a good standalone story within the Star Wars universe. This time around, we're getting Episode 8. The title has been released today, that being Star Wars The Last Jedi, which I think is a great title. I don't think it's as clean cut and straightforward as everyone has made out. We know Luke Skywalker is the last Jedi, but it could also be a combination of either Luke and Rey. Personally, and I've got a theory that it could mean Kylo Ren. I'm not getting into it here, but I might make a video on it. I'm pretty sure that there are a few people out there anticipating this film. Probably want to see this more than most films on this list. I'm sure they're out there somewhere. I'm kidding. I'm looking forward to this as much as the next person. I want to see if Episode 8 will be something other than a remake of Empire Strikes Back. We can hope. Or if it will be something that changes the game completely. And this will feed into my theory. The final film on this list is Jumanji, another reboot sequel, Gapwall, that of a property that dates back to over 20 years. And with it comes The Rock, joined by Karen Gillan, Jack Black and Kevin Hart. Now the synopsis for this is fairly revealing, giving us a view into what happens to a player of the game when they're sucked into the game. The synopsis states that 4 teenagers are sucked into Jumanji's world and turn into the characters from the game, turning into The Rock, Karen Gillan, Jack Black, Kevin Hart. I think this is a good continuation of the story and works as a sequel, because we watched as Robin Williams' character from the first one was sucked into the game and seemingly lost 26 years of his life. We only get an idea of what he went through exposition from the film, so it's nice to see that they've actually thought about a sequel and that they're going to show us what happens when they're in the game. There are films that I haven't mentioned that are going to be released this year. There are films that I've completely missed off. What are your most anticipated movies of this year? Please let me know in the comments or on my Facebook page, The Ultimate Movie Geek. Be sure to like and subscribe. I've been a Movie Geek. Ooh, what was that? Hello? Ah!